presents the Beat Basement, where you hear from your livest producers, all of them. And this is where it all goes down, where you hear the funky sounds from the producers that's up and coming to Grammy Award winners, all of them. And I'm your host Swish, and we going in, everything going in. Well, man. Welcome y'all to another episode, another podcast. Really, this is the intermission right here. So, we gonna be, just talking about producer lingo. Different terminology, different, different lingo,
verbiage.
Yeah, different verbiage for people that don't know or people that ain't producers or want to know more about the producer world, man. So, here we are today. I got my boy right here. He's the coldest producer that I know. My boy Demetrius.
I appreciate you for sure. Demetrius Hamilton, producer name Maestro Meech.
Yes, sir.
Good to be here, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me again, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Let me throw that in there. Maestro Meech is the producer name.
That's it.
So,
that's it.
Y'all get it right. Get it tight.
That's it.
Yeah. So, on this episode, producer lingo. Those are words that, regular people like us, don't really know.
Yeah, might not be too familiar with.
Yeah, but love music, love the sounds of music, love everything about it, but just don't know the technicalities.
The background information, stuff that the engineers and the producers and the artists might know. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you are one of them.
Yes. Yeah. I've learned over time, man. Initially, I was just like everybody else. I had no clue about that verbiage or that lingo, or just the different things that go on behind the scenes when you're making a beat in a DAW. That's one of the words that we know about.
DAW.
Yeah, DAW. So
DAW. How is it? DAW.
That's
right?
it. DAW. Okay. It's an acronym for Digital Audio Workshop. So basically, if you go to a real studio, a physical studio, you got your faders, you got your console board, you got your keyboards, guitars, and all that stuff. You might preamps, but today you might not have access to all of that. And then on top of that, if you're just starting, you might not have the money to go to a physical studio every time. So that's where your DAWs kick in. Like, anybody can get a DAW now. A teenager can get a DAW. Anybody can buy a DAW. So basically what a DAW does, it gives you access to all those things you would have in a studio on your laptop. So it's just like a software, digital version of an actual studio that you can step into.
Wow. Wow. So everyone, no matter the age,
anybody
can obtain a DAW.
That's right.
Recording quality DAW.
Anybody. Yeah. So you got your, like, one that's real common, well known, Fruity Loops. A lot of people use Fruity Loops.
Okay.
Pro Tools, that's a DAW.
Okay.
You got Cubase, you got Reason. You got one of my favorites, Machine.
Okay.
that's what I use to make my beats. So you not only
GarageBand,
all of that. Yeah.
So you do have a
variety.
Assortment of variety.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like even with your DAW, some are better at other things than another thing. So
got you.
Yeah. So like the one that I use to produce,
like a PlayStation versus an Xbox.
Or versus PC or something like that. Like a PC might show better graphics for Modern Warfare or something like that. So it's the same thing with a DAW. Like Pro Tools is just all around, but you might use Pro Tools for your vocals because that's what a lot of your A-list celebrities use. But like if you just want something just for making beats, then you can stick to Machine. Like, that's the one I use. Like Machine is strictly for making beats. Like it'll let you do vocal samples, but it's not geared towards recording an entire track. So if you're trying to lay down vocals or a background chorus or a main or something like that, like that's not the DAW you want to use. You want to use that strictly for making your beats, and then you can switch over to a Pro Tools or a Reason that'll let you lay down your tracks.
So DAWs are made for recording. Say if I wanted to get in there and just say la 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 la, you know what I'm saying? You have a certain DAW for that.
Yeah.
And then for actual beat making, you
might
have a DAW for that.
Yeah. And then you got some DAWs that integrate both of them really good. Like I said, Pro Tools, and even the one we on now, Reason lets you do everything because it's got the recording software for the vocals, but it also comes with your sound kits and your VSTs and all that let you make the beat, you know.
Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this knowledge? And that's just one of the words. We just gave you one word, and that was a DAW. That was a DAW. If y'all don't know what a DAW is, y'all should know now. A digital audio workstation for anybody. For dummies. That's why you got all these one-hit wonders or these, you know what I'm saying, popcorn rappers, because anybody can have the recording studio in their house with a DAW.
Makes it available to everybody.
Okay. It's almost like foreign dialect to
like if you would hear somebody talk about a DAW, you never knew what it was, you'd be like who they work for, you know what I'm saying? Like what branch of the government they in. No, it's not even that deep. It's just you just learn it over time.
Right. Oh, and you would also use a DAW, more so, you know, if your budget, you know, depending on your budget, you know, because Pro Tools, I know the pros use that, but there's a reason why the pros use it. It costs more money.
It does.
And hey, if it works for you, it works for you, but it's really what feels best to you and fits your need.
As an individual, because you'll hear several people say it doesn't matter which DAW you use. Like you might like Fruity Loops, and you know, like your favorite artist might have an engineer that uses Pro Tools, but your beats in Fruity Loops might come out just as clean as their beats in Pro Tools. So it's not like you gotta have the top standard in the industry. Like as long as you know what you're doing on your particular workstation, you good.
Oh, and Logic and Pro Tools, both of those dominate the marketplace. Like you said earlier, you know, amongst professionals.
And like the general industry, everybody knows about Pro Tools, knows how to use it. So,
but that does not mean you can't cook up on any DAW.
Not at all. Not at all. You can cook up on anything.
Okay.
Especially if you've been playing with, like you have some producers, they productive on all the DAWs. Like they just know the back ends on all of them. So you can put them in front of any workstation, and because they just have that long-term knowledge, they just know how to jump on there and make a beat. They can jump from the Pro Tools to the Akai MPC to the Reason and just go hard on all of them, you know. So it don't stop you. Once you learn different things about all of them, you kind of know they all work the same. Like even inside the DAWs, like now I'm starting to switch over to some other terminology, but it's a common theme. Like you got what you call ASDR, which is like attack, sustain, delay, and release, and that's more so engineer terminology. So like let's say you got a particular instrument, the attack portion of that would determine how quickly that instrument hits when you press the button. And so you got your sustain, you know, that determines how long the sound itself sustains or how long it lasts. Your release is kind of like sustain, but it's a little more noticeable. So it's like, let's say you press one of the pedals on the piano or one of the keys, like if it's got a short release, you'll press it like doom, and it's short. And but if you got a long release, it's like doom, and it'll fade off. So you know, it's like the ASDR. Once you learn how to work that in one DAW, it's the same across all the workstations.
And repeat that terminology.
ASDR, attack, sustain, delay, and release.
That's what you want as a beat maker. Those are the qualities of making a beat that you must know in order to use a DAW.
For sure.
So, yes, sir. And so, now let's let them know what a fader is.
A fader.
Yeah.
Okay. So a fader.
It's not one in this studio. It's not one in this studio, but
You talking
usually
about
see them in the big
the big
professional.
consoles.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah. What are those for?
those are for, that's for everything. Like specifically, you're using that when you're engineering. So producers have to know what faders are too, because you do got to control certain elements in your song with the fader. But look, they have those in the DAW, but they're digital.
Right.
But basically the fader, it allows you to manipulate volume, and like I said, even ASDR within the digital audio workshop, or even on the console, they'll have a fader for that too. And so basically what you can do, you can apply a fader to each vocal or to each instrument or whatever it is that you're recording. If you record something through a mic, 9 times out of 10 it's connected to a fader. So your main vocals might be connected to a fader, your background vocals might be connected to a fader, your kick is connected to a fader, your snare is connected to a fader. Everything runs into its own channel. Like a fader is kind of like its own channel, and so it controls every individual aspect of whatever you're recording. So every part of your song can be connected to a fader on that board, and that's what you see when you see people sitting at that board.
And it makes a certain sound to it.
The fader doesn't make the sound; it manipulates the sound.
Right.
Yeah,
there
like
you
you,
go.
yeah, like
there
you can
go.
turn it up, turn it down.
Right.
You can, and like next to the faders, you'll see the treble and the bass, and you can control the bass amount and the treble amount that's coming through with that certain sound on that fader or whatever. So, like for example, like with your kick, you might want your kick to have more bass than your snare. So you'll turn up the bass part to that fader for that channel.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. So let them know what a kick is.
Okay, so a kick, that's just like producer terminology for a drum. You know, like at first I never knew what a kick was either. I was like, what is the kick? Like, I don't know what a kick is, but you just learn over time. Like once you have your beat packs and your instruments and stuff like that, you see, like when you go to kicks, you get to, all of them make that sound. And you're like, okay, that's just another word for drum or whatever. So yeah, that's what your kick is. Your kick, that's just another word for a drum. Like when you go to church or something and you see somebody sitting at the drums and they press that pedal, that's the kick. You know, so when you think about kick, you can think about somebody sitting at a drum kit, sitting on the pedal, hitting the drum, whatever. Like you got to use your foot. So foot, kick, drum, they all go hand to hand. You learn it over time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your kick.
Sounds good. Kick. What else? What else do they need to know?
Inside of a kit, you might have a whole pack of sounds. So, like for example, they even sell your drum kits, and they'll all be full with your kicks, your snares, your hi-hats, your open hats, your claps, your cymbals, all that stuff. Like basically, in a kit, you'll have everything you need to lay down the foundation of your beat. You know, which is the percussion part of the beat. So, yeah, that's what you'll find in a lot of kits.
Wow, that's dope. Snare.
A snare.
Do they? If there are any, instrumental, if there's any type of musicians or anything in your family, tell them what a snare is. If there's not.
So a snare, basically, a snare and a kick kind of go hand in hand, but the best way to describe the snare, it's not a drum, it's percussion, and it's probably the main percussion instrument throughout the song. So it's like, you know how you'll have a kick then a clap, that part would be your snare, but a snare sounds a little bit different from a clap. And the thing about it, you got a lot of different versions of snares. Like you can open up a DAW and you'll have 1,000 snares. So one might sound more like a clap, one might sound more like a snap, like one might be a combination of a clap and a snap. Like snares, it's a lot of, it's real diverse when it comes to snares. Like you got a lot of options. So, but yeah, those two, they lay the foundation for.
So claps aren't the same thing as snares.
Now you can easily identify the difference between a clap and a snare, but oftentimes you'll hear they go in the same place. Like if you're gonna use a clap, you're gonna use a clap. If you're gonna use a snare as the main part of the percussion, you're gonna use a snare, or you can put one in between the other one, and you can stack them. But it's an obvious difference between a clap and a snare.
Okay. And these are some of the basics of maybe the art form of beat making.
Yeah, production
Okay.
process. Yeah,
Um,
like every song for the most part is gonna have a kick and a snare, and as far as hip hop and R&B, you're gonna have some hi hats and some open hats and stuff like that.
Okay, we're gonna get to them hi hats and them low hats.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, okay, so are 808s kicks, or
So 808s,
yeah, when you hear people say, oh man, that was,
a hard 808.
yeah.
Like a 808 can be categorized as a kick sometimes, because some 808s, like when you have them in your beat packs or whatever, they'll already be made to have a kick
in
it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it'll be like a kick 808, but
Yeah,
then you
but
got
it'll be
some, yeah,
with a little harmony or something to the kick.
exactly. Like they add that bass to the kick, but you have some 808s, they're just strictly 808s, and the 808 is just, it's a bass line. You know what I'm saying? So like you might have a guitar bass line, but a guitar bass line is different, whereas it's really picky and it can be short. But with an 808, a lot of times, they differentiate, but usually they're long, like how we were talking about release earlier. Like you might press a key on the piano and it's like boom, and it fades out. That's how your 808 typically is. Like your 808 is deep, it's woomy, it's wobbly, like it's sustained.
Boomy.
Exactly.
Boomy.
Boomy.
Another word for
How they sound.
terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
808's a real boomy, and that's the part that really pulls a lot of people in. Like when the 808 drop,
Right.
that's when
That's
people
more of a southern style type
Definitely.
beat.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Sure.
You say hi-hats. Let's talk to them about hi-hats
So the
and
hi-hats.
low-hats
Yeah.
and then I also want to go back to structuring of a
Okay.
beat, what I'm
Gotcha.
saying, in the production,
Uh-huh.
just the lingo as far as in, okay, well, I start mine with a melody.
Okay. Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
the different terms of why
Some
someone
people
would
do
start it?
what they do
Yeah.
in their process. So
Yeah.
with the hi-hat, so you got hi-hats and you got open hats, and basically your hi-hats, those are like, a lot of times you'll hear them, they're like the continuous ticks, like the
Hi-hat, like a Abraham Lincoln hat, or
nah,
like
not that type of
Oh, okay.
yeah,
okay.
this is like
I know. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, this refers to more of like an audio sound. Yeah,
Okay.
not like that type of hat. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not like a baseball hat.
Nah, it's a
nothing like
totally
that.
different type of category of hats.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
your hi-hats, those are like I said, the continuous ticks you might hear in a track, like the that's your hi-hat.
Yeah.
And then, along with those ticks, you'll get a tss, tss. That's your open hat. So
Okay.
you got hi-hat, then you got your open hat. So
Okay.
it's two types of hats.
Open hat ain't got a hole in it. That ain't no hat with a hole in it. Either.
Nah.
Alright, okay.
Nah.
Okay. Just to see if y'all listening,
Oh yeah.
y'all should know now the difference between a hi hat
Mhm.
and
And
a
open.
open
Open hat.
hat.
Uh-huh.
Now low hat.
A low hat. I've never heard of a low hat.
Okay.
I don't think
okay.
that's an
Okay.
actual
I was
hat.
just testing.
Nah.
I was just testing your producer skills.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know what I'm
think-
saying?
Might have made
I
something
was
new.
just-
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I just had to.
For sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Now let's talk about the structuring of.
A beat.
Yeah.
Okay, so it really just depends on how you operate as a producer. Some people like their melodies first. Some people need the actual drum kit foundation of the hi-hat, the snares, and the kick. And some people want to hear the 808 first. It's really just about what makes you move or puts you into your element as a producer. You know what I'm saying? Like bass might be the thing that makes you, want to start making a beat. So you'll start off with your 808, and then you'll come in with your melody. Some people like
So
they pick
808 is pretty much the bass drum, like a
the
bass.
bass line. Yeah, it lays down that whole
Heavy.
line.
The boomy lingo. Lingo,
Exactly.
that's the lingo for producers.
That's it.
That's
it.
what an 808 is.
Lays down your bass line. So some people, they get motivated by their bass. Personally, for myself, I need a melody to get me going, because once you get a melody, to me it's just easier to stack on top of it, because once you have melody, then you can easily come up with harmony. And harmony is just like a complement to the melody or whatever. So the melody would be the main sound of the song, like sort of like, how you got the, like if an artist is recording vocals, they got their main vocal where they're singing or they're rapping, and then they got the background vocals and they got their ad-libs. So if you compare the two, the melody is like the main vocal,
Okay.
and then your harmony would be like your background sound
Okay.
and your ad lib. So once you get that melody, for me personally, once I get a melody,
that makes
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how a
Mhm.
beat is made.
Exactly. You start with a melody,
Yeah.
and then you got some harmony, and the drum kit. That's the easiest part to me. Like you can just play with that all day long because it's easy to manipulate where you want your kicks and where you want your snares once you got your melody going. So that's typically how I start off. I get a melody and just add to it.
Okay. And I heard you mention the word boxy earlier.
Boxy.
Yeah. Too much millihertz, too much high frequency or too much energy. Boxy is
Maybe bassy. I might have said bassy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that kind of goes back to the trebles. And then when you start talking about that, now you're talking about a little more engineering. Like you got your EQs that allow you to pull out, the bassiness or the boxy, because you can have a boxy sound, and that refers to your reverb and your EQ. EQ, that's just short terminology for equalizer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, and that's just what it does. An equalizer just lets you equalize your sound, so that you're just playing with the different frequencies. So you got your bass, you got your mid bass, then you got your treble, then you might have your really high treble,
Yeah.
then you got your top high treble, which is like 20,000 kilohertz or whatever. But that's what you're doing. You're just equalizing different sections or different bands of sound to bring them into whatever sounds like perfection to you. Yeah.
Okay. What is a VST?
Okay. A VST, that's just short for virtual instrument.
Yeah.
So like
studio technology.
Yeah.
Virtual studio technology.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah. So typically, anytime I come across VST, it's in regards to a different instrument. Like they'll sell them on websites, and they'll say like virtual instrument, but studio technology, like they all go hand in hand. So like how we were saying earlier, like your DAW is just a digital form of a physical studio. That's what a VST is. It's a digital or virtual form of all the stuff that you will come across in a physical studio. So like I said, you might have a physical piano that you can't get access to. The VST will give you a virtual piano, or you might need a guitar, but you don't have a real guitar. So a VST will give you a virtual guitar. You know what I'm saying? And even with your EQs, like how we were talking about the big boards and the faders, everybody doesn't have access to a $20,000 fader board, so you'll have a VST for your fader, virtual studio fader, whatever. So that's what your VST is.
Gotcha. Okay, and so another lingo word for your speakers.
Speakers.
Yeah, what do you guys call those?
I got talking. The speakers, man. I'm gonna have to be honest.
I forget what they call
them. Studio monitors.
Yeah, studio monitors.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, the monitor is basically your speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so, I guess the reason they say it's a monitor is because your monitors, that's just what they do. They allow you to monitor your sound because you're listening. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's why they call them monitors.
Gotcha. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and they got different monitors too. Like specifically, like the ones a lot of people use. You got your Yamahas.
Yeah.
They're just really clean. And the reason a lot of people mix with them, especially engineers, is because they give you a flat sound. And the reason that's important is because it doesn't distort or give you a false reality of what you really hear. You know what I'm saying? Because if you mix in a beat, you want to be able to hear how boomy or how bassy the bass really is. So you don't want to mix with a pair of monitors that might be too boomy, because once you play it in the car on the radio, you'll notice that it overtakes every other aspect of the song. So it's good for me personally, to mix with something that gives you a flat sound, because it gives you the real identity of that sound. If you mix with some beats by Dre's, you're gonna come out to mix with some over bassy bass. You know what I'm saying? Because you mixed on something to amplify the bass, but that's not what you want. You want something flat. For me personally, you got some producers, they like to make they beats, with the bass while they making it. So it just depends on how you produce or how you mix, but I think it's best to go with the flat sound with the Yamahas. You know, you got your Rockets. I think they call it KRKs or something like that.
Yeah.
But those are known for the bass. So you got different types of monitors just for different needs, you know.
And does it help? Does it help the effect of beat making of the craft?
Yeah, like definitely. Because for me personally, it just gives me the ability to make sure my sound comes out clean. You know, like how they say radio ready.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make sure you got a radio ready sound, then you want to listen to something that's gonna give you a true sound and not a false distortion. And that's why it's good to mix on something flat, like some Yamahas, because when you hear it on the Yamaha, that's how it's really gonna sound. You know, like it's gonna come across in that way that you heard it on the Yamaha. Yeah.
Okay. It ain't gonna sound like you recorded it in the bathroom. Which you probably
nothing.
did, you know,
No quality. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And even on top of that, your headphones might be monitors too. Like a lot of your headphones that you use are also referred to as monitors, and they have the same effect as some of the speakers that you might use when you mix or when you produce. So, like I know a lot of engineers will use headphones too, just because they all give you a different ability to critique your sound. Like when it's closer to you, you can monitor. For me personally, I like headphones. I can monitor better in headphones, and then I'll move it to my studio monitors or my speakers when I'm finally finishing up. But while I'm mixing, I want it close to my ears because I get a better perception of the overall sound.
Okay. What are some other terminologies or lingo that you think that
Other people might not be aware.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some.
Same here, and it's like you use it all the time, but because you see it so often, you know. Okay. Well, reverb, like we haven't really talked about what reverb is. So basically, reverb is what gives your music the sound or the idea of space. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you record without reverb, it's gonna sound real flat or really dim. Like it won't have any character to it, you know? So when a person adds reverb, like so for example, somebody who uses a lot of reverb, that might be like Travis Scott, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when he speaks or when he raps, it sounds like it's trailing off into a distance. That's your reverb. And it just gives you that ambient feeling like you're actually at a concert, or like you're actually in a big audience or something like that. Like it gives character to the music, you know. Like you got your drum pads. So
drum pads.
So a lot of DAWs, like I said, they operate differently. Some DAWs come with the drum pad, and some DAWs don't. So for the ones that don't come with the drum pad, you literally do everything on the laptop. So when you're inserting a kick, or when you're inserting a snare, or an instrument or whatever, it's all on the keyboard, like the keyboard that comes with the computer. But if you have a drum pad, basically what the drum pad does is it assigns a sound to each square. Like a lot of times you see it as like a square or a rectangle, but a drum pad allows you to assign a sound to each pad, and you can play the pad, and you can play your music into your DAW with the drum pad. It just it makes it a little more interactive. Like some people just need something they can put their hands on to make a beat, like they're more of a hands-on producer. So like a drum pad just gives you that ability to tap your beat in through like an external instrument instead of just looking at a laptop all day. And that's one thing that took me from Reason to Machine. I just got bored with it, you know, and I always wanted.
Do you use a drum pad?
Yeah, like so.
A lot of producers should use them, or
no, it's optional. Like how we were talking about, whatever DAW makes you feel comfortable, like that's what you use. So you might be the producer who likes to type in his hi-hats with his mouse or his mouse pad. that's cool, you know. But if you want to play around with a drum pad and just tap on the pad, then that's cool for you, you know. So, like I said, I got bored with doing everything on the computer, and I always wanted an Akai MPC, but I saw that Native Instruments had a machine that looked almost just like the Akai, and it
sold separately.
No,
or built into the computer, built into the DAW.
So the DAW, like they're integrated, they're one. So when you buy machine, you get both of them. You get the drum pad, and it comes with the song. Yeah, and that's why I bought it, because I was like, oh, this is dope, because you get the best of both worlds. Like you can use your DAW separate from the drum pad, or use both. And they even have it now. You don't even need a computer no more. Like you can just have a drum pad and do everything on the drum pad. Like, yeah, they've really advanced to the point where you can look at a screen on a drum pad and never use your computer.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Another instrument or another VST that you might find, it's a compressor. And a compressor just allows you, it basically does what it says it does. It compresses that instrument or that certain sound that you're trying to compress. And basically, it just makes that sound more, it gives it more life. It sort of squeezes more life into it, because without a compressor, your vocals or your kick, it might be dull. You know, it might not have a lot of life to it, but when you put a compressor on it, you'll see that your kick is punchy, you know, or you'll see that your instrument.
And punchier means, well, punch.
Like, so it just means it hits hard.
Okay.
Kick, you know, so like
yeah. Let me read the correct terminology of punchy. A nice attack and sense of presence.
There you go.
A punchy sound can come from your performance, your instrument, or the effective use of compression.
There you go.
Or all three. To create a punch with a compressor, set the threshold to compress just a couple of decibels. Set the attack long enough so that the initial transient passes through uncompressed. And set the release so that it doesn't remain longer than the instrument, and so that it isn't short enough to pump the compression. Yeah, like when you start saying it like that, you sound like you're going to school, you know? Yeah, now that sounds real
technical,
real technical.
Yeah.
But punchy, basically what you said. Same thing what you said.
Yeah, short and punchy.
Yep.
So that's what your compressors do. You got some other things too, man. Stereo imagers. So basically a stereo imager that gives sort of like a surround sound somewhat to your sounds. So, you know, you got what you would refer to as mono and stereo. Or, for example, like, okay, so you know how your main vocal might be centered in the middle of your track, like when you're listening to a song and the artist is singing, the main vocal is always in the middle. So if you want background vocals, or you want vocals to sound like they're complementing that middle vocal, what you'll do is you'll put vocals on the side. And that's what your stereo imager allows you to do. So it's called a stereo imager because, you know, you got your music, which is your stereo, then you got your image, but it's creating that audio perspective or audio image for your music when you're listening to it. So if you want to see it or hear it like it's outside, that's what the stereo imager allows you to do. It allows you to push the image of that sound to the outside. So it sounds like it's out here, whereas it would typically just be in the middle, you know, with your main vocal. Your stereo imager pushes your vocals to the outside as your background vocals. So yeah, that's another thing that you can use. And it doesn't just apply to vocals, it applies to sounds too. So like if I'm making a beat and I want my piano to sound like it's more outside of my main synthesizer, which is in the middle, I'll just turn up or increase the notch on the stereo imager, and now my piano sounds like it's out here, like it's the background for that main sound. Yeah.
Instead of the main attraction.
The main instrument, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It allows you to stack stuff. Yeah.
Another definition: body. The frequency range of an instrument where it produces the richest tone, often around 800 Hz. to
HZ.
1 kilohertz.
Okay, I know what kilohertz is.
Maybe HZ is hertz. Just
Okay.
hertz. Okay.
You're right. Yeah.
Boomy. Too much low frequency energy.
Mm-hmm.
To get rid of boominess, cut frequencies below 120 hertz.
Yeah.
What is boomy? What is too much low frequency?
Too much low frequency. So that means that's basically just too much bass. So like let's say, like if you have a piano, you don't want your piano to be bassy because it's not an 808. It's not a bass
Right.
line. It's
But
not.
you can make it sound like that.
You can if you want to, you
Yeah.
know. But like let's just say you want a crisp, clean piano that's just
You
got
put a real piano.
exactly a real piano.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you hear real piano, you don't hear it. Don't sound like an 808.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't hear this bass drowning out the piano. So when you have it in your DAW or whatever, you don't want it to come across like a bassy type instrument. You want it to sound like a real piano or whatever. So what you'll do, like they just said, you'll cut out those frequencies by turning that part of the frequency down with your equalizer. So your equalizer will let you cut out those sounds that can drown out your actual bass, and that's one reason why it's important to cut out. No, you good to cut out certain sounds for each instrument actually, because like typically, like I didn't do this at first, but like every instrument that you put into a mix should be EQ'd or equalized. Like so, like how we were talking about, you could put your own, or you could put every vocal on a different fader.
Yeah.
Like every instrument should kind of have either access to a equalizer or have its own equalizer, so that you can cut out different parts of that instrument that you don't want to come across. Because you know, like your bass line, that you want your bass to be in your bass line. You don't want it in your guitars. You don't want it in your bells. You don't want it in your snares and your claps. Like those aren't bassy instruments. So if you leave all your bass on those other instruments, then it'll clash with the bass on your 808 and with your bass line.
How do you leave it on the other instruments?
By not EQing it.
Okay.
So if you don't EQ it, it's automatically.
So making a beat, you have to mix it and EQ
like
it. Can you do it like all in one while you're making the beat?
You can, like typically, like so. What a lot of producers do, they'll make the beat, then they'll EQ it. Me personally, I just knock everything out at one time because I like to hear my stuff clean as I'm producing it. So if I'm working on one instrument and I know it's got too much bass on it, then I just go ahead, throw EQ on there, knock the bass out.
What is clean?
So to me,
when you say clean,
when I say clean, I just mean sort of like radio ready. You know what I'm saying? So like if it doesn't sound radio ready or like pristine enough for somebody else to hear it and be like, oh, that's dope, that means I need to go in there and clean it up, so to speak. Like to clean it up means to get rid of those frequencies that shouldn't be in there. So yeah, that's what clean is. Like when it's
how do
rid of
you
those
know
frequencies.
them frequencies are in there though?
You just hear them over time, man.
Yeah.
Like, cause you know, initially, like, and I'm sure every producer has had this moment where you make your first beat or your first couple of beats, and you think they all hard, you think they all dope, you think they all sound good.
Right.
You probably think they ready for some airplay.
Right.
But as you advance and you listen back, it's like, oh man, that beat, that beat wasn't ready. It wasn't clean. And like the way you develop your ears really is by comparing your beats to what you hear on the radio. You know, because what's on the radio is top tier. You know, it's like top standard. So you listen to something that's high quality and you compare it to yours, and that's how you know what's clean and what's not clean. Yeah, so you listen to, you know, a professional artist or professional music that's already out, and you fine tune your ears to that, and that gives you an idea of what your stuff should sound like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What does air mean? Refers to frequencies above 12 kilohertz.
Okay. Air, I know a lot of times air refers to the sound of vocals.
Song, yeah, to breathe a little. Feeling a spaciousness.
Yeah, so vocals, like, you know how, you know, somebody might be singing and, like, you can hear the breath behind their vocals, like they sound like they're really there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like Jay-Z or somebody.
Yeah, or like that's picking up a certain air, a certain frequency, or like with Adele or Beyonce, or like real singers.
Yeah.
Like when they sing, you can hear like the really soft touches
right
to their voice that typically you wouldn't hear. It's real intimate. Like when it's airy, you really get the overall true sound of that artist.
Can you do that with a beat? Is it
make it
not,
airy?
Not so.
I think it's a little bit different with the beat. You can make a beat very reverbish, and then maybe you can interchange the word airy with reverb, and that way, like how I said with Travis Scott, when he makes a lot of his songs, like his lyrics sound like they're trailing off into a distance, you can make a sound like that. So
you can also make a beat sound like chopped and screwed, right?
Yeah.
And what would that be considered?
Really, so chopped and screwed, that's really when you're just slowing down the beats per minute. Okay, so that's another one. BPM, beats per minute of the mix. So BPM is really just the speed of the beat. So like a lot of times they have what you call a metronome, and the metronome is like that tap that you might hear when people are making a beat. The tap, tap. So if you're gonna chop and screw a beat, it's gonna be tap, it's gonna be real slow. Like that's what converts it to a chop and screw beat. You just take that metronome and you take that BPM and you slow it down. And it's the same thing with vocals. Yeah.
Is it the same thing with electronic music, like the more techno type music? You would refer to the BPM.
BPM, yeah. So
being a lot
faster. Yeah. So it's the same thing, same terminology. Now you just turning up the BPM because when you have techno or dance or electric, you're trying to get people to move. You know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna have it real low as a chopped and screwed BPM because that's gonna put you in a laid back chill mode. But if you're trying to get people pumped up, you know what I'm saying, your beats per minute, it's gonna be faster. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be something, like your DJ type stuff. Your Beaches and your Calvin Harris's and brave type music. You know what I'm saying? So, that's when you can speed up the BPM.
Dark, lacking high frequency brightness.
Yeah.
What would be a high frequency brightness?
So a high frequency, like if a song lacks high frequencies, that just means it doesn't have a lot of sound, like bells. You know what I'm saying? Like like bells.
Something that kind of
like
in a good mood.
Perks the beat up. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm
trying to think of a song you could consider
dark.
A dark song. Like Future has a lot of like dark songs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very brutish.
Yeah.
The Weeknd does it a lot.
Okay.
So a lot of times you'll hear it'll have like a bass. A bass, and it'll have a pad or something like that to go along with it. But like you said, it lacks a lot of those higher frequencies that will kind of perk you up.
Okay. Depth, full body sound, often a result in enhancing frequencies just above the below the main body of the instrument.
Depth. Oh man, that's
below the main body of the instrument.
I think in a way that could be. So based on how that's described, the depth would be like how I was talking about the stereo imager, like you can push stuff outside. So depth might be what makes it sit behind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sort of like
after
same thing.
Yeah. Yep. That is the same thing. Dry, an instrument without effects applied to it.
Yeah. So dry would be like no reverb. So like, for example, I keep bringing up Travis Scott because he uses it all the time, but you can hear it in his sounds and in his vocals. Like it just makes it sound spacious.
Yeah.
But when something is dry, it just sounds plain. You know what I'm saying? Like it just sounds like
beginners. I think we about that anyway.
Okay.
Grainy, poor digital resolution.
Okay, so grainy, that's really not what you want when you're producing. Basically, like grainy is another word for distorted. So like it might be crackly or poppy, or like it's just got a lot of stuff in the background that's not supposed to be there. That would be grainy. But sometimes, an artist might want some grain in there,
Yeah.
just because for the sake of artistry,
Yeah.
and it goes along with the
Right.
sound
Right.
and the reason for the sound, you know. But from an engineering perspective, you really don't want grainy
Right.
in your audio. Yeah.
What about edgy? An extreme of punchy, bordering on uncomfortable, depending on the music.
Mm-hmm. When I think about edgy, I think about rock.
Okay.
I think about EDM,
Okay.
fast-paced stuff,
Yeah.
where you really don't care about quality.
Yeah.
You just care about sound and something that's going to hype you up
Yeah.
and make you move. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like if you want something edgy, then you're not really an audiophile. Like an audiophile, that's a person who really likes crisp, clean music and doesn't want to hear, you know, like too much bass or too much treble. They want everything laid out perfect. But you know, if you're listening to edgy music or you like edgy music, you don't care about none of that. You just want something that's gonna hype you up, pump you up,
Right.
and make you want to move.
Muddy, lack of definition in a sound, often a result of too much low mid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So muddy, for example, like I said, if you don't cut out enough bass in your 808 or your vocals, it can sound muddy. So somebody might like a muddy 808 or whatever. So basically, that just means that the 808 is extremely present. So if an 808 is muddy, that just means that the bass is highly present in that 808. So it's heavy. That means it's overtaken a lot of the song. So yeah,
majority of the song.
Yeah. It's a muddy 808.
All right. Well, I mean that pretty much sums up this session of producer, camp producer lingo. Is there any other last words or any finishing lingo that needs to be said to the listeners?
Not that I can think of. We covered a lot of it, like producer lingo 101. Like, it's a lot in there.
I know.
You can go really deep.
Right.
This podcast will probably extend for a whole nother hour. Just based on different things you see in Pro Tools or native instruments or machines or something like that. But I think for the most part, people can listen to this and they will go into a DAW and say, okay, like we heard enough or know enough now to know how to make a beat or how to tweak a beat. So yeah, we covered a lot.
Okay. Next, producer 102 class, we'll talk more into maybe actually making a beat.
Sure.
That'd be dope, or at least for beginners.
Yeah.
Start them off like that. So we gave y'all a little bit of the lingo, man, a little bit of the language of producers, music producers. You heard it here first from your boy James Swish, Meech.
That's right, Maestro Meech.
Maestro.
Yes, sir.
You want to tell them?
If you're producing, or really whatever you're doing, man, just stay encouraged, stay focused. Don't give up. It takes time. Nothing really happens overnight. Like I said, we were talking in one portion of the podcast. When you first make your first beats, you don't think they sound good. You don't think they sound radio ready. But over time, your ears develop, your learning and your understanding increases, and you listen back and you say, oh man, I know a lot now that I didn't know in the beginning. And that's just with life, you know what I'm saying? So whether it's making beats or you got a brand or you designing clothes, just, stay on it, stay diligent, and you'll grow with it. You'll get better over time, and you'll see yourself in a position you always wanted to see yourself in. So, yeah, just keep pushing.
All right, man. You heard it here first, man.
Right.
So when you are making your first beat, or you're trying to understand the lingo that you hear inside the studio, you heard it here first. Let us know what you think. Comment, questions, all of that. Send it to our emails. You can post it directly to the podcast site, comments at podbean.com, on iTunes, all your local podcasting sites. Reach out to us and give them your email, your info,
Contact
to where they can
info.
reach out to you and understand some things that they didn't pick up.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if you want to reach out to me and get in contact, I'll give you the Instagram stuff too. My Instagram is my real name, Demetrius Hamilton, email.
I called him by his government to start off the show. My fault, bro.
That's it. No, you good. It's all good. Cool, for sure. Because that's my artist name anyway, so I use it already.
Oh,
So
bet.
Instagram, yeah, you safe. But yeah, Demetrius Hamilton, that's the Instagram. Email demetriushamilton@yahoo.com. If you got any questions or just want to learn a little bit more about a dog, something like that, you can reach me through there. So there you go.
All right, man. Until next time, till we hear from you again.
Yes, sir. I
Till we
appreciate
see y'all
you.
again. Appreciate y'all. Y'all continue to support. We love y'all. Thank y'all.
There you go.
Peace.
Peace.